never-ending love. Koji Sticks. Book written through L.T. Zupan. Illustrationing, editing, publishing of the print and audio forms, etc. from L.T. Zupan. Cover photo credit for the print form and thumbnail credit for the audio form. Uyen Lee. And it is a photo of her beautiful left eye, by the way. This book is a work of pure fiction, bitch. Names, characters, places, and incidents either are products of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual events or locales or persons, living or dead, is entirely coincidental. If you purchased this book without a cover, the print form that is, you should be aware that this book is stolen property. It was reported as unsold or destroyed to the publisher, theoretically, and neither the author nor the publisher, which are one and the same, have received any payment for this, quote, stripped book. Whew! Forever. No part of this goddamn book may be reproduced or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic or mechanical, including photocopying, scanning, recording, or by any information storage or retrieval system without the written permission of the publisher, except where permitted by law. First edition. Copyright 2021 by Leo Thomas Zupan IV, all rights reserved, aka Leo Thomas Zupan IV, aka LT Zupan. This book was written entirely in Da Nang, Vietnam. Inspiration and composition of Volume 1. From 1/20/20 through 6/25/21, 17 months in total. List of writing, etc. composed through L.T. Zupan. Sun Coffee Waiver from 1996 to 2006. Completed, yet there remains an extreme likelihood of permanent unreleasedness. Sapphire and Tendril from 1996 through 2006. Completed, yet there remains an extreme likelihood of permanent unreleasedness. Spiral Trinity 2008 to 2009, Spiral Affinity 2009, Spiral Unity book 2009 to 2010-ish, permanently unfinished and permanently unreleased. Spiral Unity album 2009 to 2020, Travel Around Haert 2012 to 2015, 5 additional chapters from 2015 through 2020. Goethe Fjelt 2015 through 2017, Angstorm Rumble 2016 through 2022-ish, unfinished as of 2021. 11-page stories, 2017 through 2019. 55 songish poems, 2019 to 2020. Infinitude randomnimity, revolving from love, 2020 through 2069 plus. Unfinished as of 2021. Never-ending love, 2020 through 2069 plus. Unfinished as of 2021. Devotional to the precious magenta glow that is the love between us is us, my sweet Uyan. Quote, this love, an eternal, end quote. Susanna Hoffs. VoL.1. Beyond the first tredecillion spheres. Overture. A dash dash dash. Before setting out to think to himself, Lee, a fictional character of course, first set out to thinking about thought itself. It certainly didn't seem too complicated to his emotional body, as many people used to be fond of mapping whatever that thing is as such, whilst grasping. One could be insulting, or one could be understanding of this, as is, of course, always the case. B dash dash dash. Thinking about thinking always came back to the same thing for Lee, which was the abbreviated yet unstunted moniker he always dearly, darlingly, daft, adept, and deftly went by when connecting to the droves of nobodies, somebodies, and whoever bodies on that rusty old planet Earth, the only place Lee had ever known. The 40-year-old was basically a healthy, mentally, physically, and otherwise man, partially of Swift Creek Choctaw heritage, which only partially matters, of course. He was recognizant enough to whiffle out the traces of the future as they eked capiduous florae devalote, caprici deciduosciti, velocigreen trello ello. What this usually meant, as always, came back to was that thought simply is, in its own nature, or functional iti-ing, for argument's drumming, thrummery, thrust, tree, sake. Unlike the forced participation of a scurrying, fighty, squirrel conversation event, there was an almost forced and majorially pleasant leaning towards the flavor of satisfying experience that came with. One event in this case internal, mirrored, as exemplified here, by another event, in this case external. 1. Lee's thoughts about his thought. 2. The subject of the postcedent thinkery that Lee gained an actually satisfying and mediumly addictive hit from postponing and shoving forward gently, like the waves of some purply world, pushing darker black sand back and away, unnoticeably firm. The subject being that, well, he had always known, really, like we pretty much all do. X, even those who painfully choose to disallow the mild patience and courage required to follow through and make it this fari parallel, making it sins. I just realized now I meant against K. That there is an undescribable difference between page 1 of setting up your theory tests in a lab on planet fucking Earth, and then of actually firing the thing off in your moist flexi pod as you are hovering about in the far orbited reachings of my old moon. Where did all my time go? He looked back as he thought, caring more about himself, his plight, and then his flight, than most others naturally would. Who knows what, truly, will really happen way out here, way the fuck out here in the land of freshly remembered, hey, everything is okay and basically makes sense awesomeness. Who knows? Well, in the least, Lee didn't. And per usual, he certainly didn't have anyone, least of all, grand sibling time, to bounce, spin, contort, and etc. that idea around with. He did know he had fear that was real enough. Hell, as real as 6 sickly, grizzled torturers, and fear that was correct. Enough, at least. That he was wise and true enough, barely, to listen. And back the hell down now. He powered down and reoriented his spacecraft back towards home/Earth, somber and profoundly ashamed, having wasted another decade of his waning life. Still, he pulled that fucking trigger, of course. What do you think, I'm some kind of a fucking joke? None of that other stupid backing down bullshit ever even happened. It was just a plot device in some cleverly stupid book called Never Ending Love. Chapter 1 Rubicon Fire A -- So, it was 3:33:33.33 a.m. 3-33-3330. 3. Around 1400 years in the future, depending on the time. Lead invented a space travel portal technology that would shoot his large, borderline huge, I assure you, wet, scruffy personal pod, roughly 100 galaxies in distance, with each shot seriously. And with his first pull now, he just fucking uncovered that it worked. B dash dash dash. What surprised him most of all was just how mild the experience of this hyper-travel of sorts was/is. But the brakes definitely needed some tweaking. When his craft came to a sudden stop roughly 100 galaxies away from Earth now, it probably would have killed him, via slivering his framery, had he not installed space seatbelts before leaving home, determined, resolute, never to return. Well, anyways, it was time to use the second part of his invented technology to find the nearest peacefully inhabited planet just for fun, which was BTW, the casual entirety of his plan, the heart of why he had set out in the first place, to find peacefully inhabited, yet unknown to Earth, planets, just for fun, and more so for love, actually. Another bit of kit he had brought that he had not invented was a multi-universal decoder, so that communication would not be an issue. He also had infinite supplies, because of some Star Trek-ish technology and a Star Trek-type holodeck for infinite entertainment. He loved the best parts of Star Trek in his own way, and always felt at home with their many crews, behemoth dignity, as he himself is very dignified, cherishing that which is noble. The planet that popped up on his console was labeled Rubicon 5 for whatever quasi-known reason. He slowly ventured his almost giantish pod over to the planetoid's atmosphere. This should be interesting, he thought, intermittently. C dash dash dash. He soon surfed to a lazily encircling, drifty and precise orbit around Rubicon 5. A beautiful shade of red, the sizable planet was. Its solar system's trinary suns mirrored the red beauty of the floating planetoidal sphere. Lee never had any urge to interfere with things of such beauty, that is. He dropped into a lower elliptical orbit and began descending through a series of the bells and boops that are the steps his craft takes to land onto a major floating rock. His epic pod ultimately rested into a soft, purple sandy clearing somewhere deeply southern. It is, finally, the real and true beginning. He stepped out. D dash dash dash. The alien globe he had wandered into and onto was so purpureanly plum or prune-colored, in fact, that it seemed to Lee, he had no other last or middle names, just Lee, that even the atmosphere itself had a lilac tinge to it, carrying along the quiet, remindery scent of a deep, gentle lavender. Urges struggled their cumbersome, desperate, clinky, crusading odysseys from the central Cori spark zone, where they do begin at the same place for everyone. Forward, outward, yonder as lemmings, then kamikazeing on the unestablishedly reproductive netting of his fiber octave talk choice sheets. Layer up upon layer it clearly is. And no, he was not mistaken about the synesthesia of the backgrounds and foregrounds. This was no ordinary planet, and space itself was not ordinary around here either. That which is between the two, most expressly highlighted or pronounced, was so far from a description of the standards of gendery, four-limbed, mammalian, breathing generationals. Just as he began to grow eloquent in his accustomation of the multitaneous 3, maybe 4 events at a time, a fifth, for lack of a more exactifying term, extruded into the sphere of his personal happenings. And this was all a lot more acceptable, simple, and natural than it words out to the observed here, as was clear in the expressions of the planeteers facing him, only small meters ahead. Lee was plucked by destiny's indexing fingers, partially because he was not known to be slow on the updraw take, and the valves of his hour were no exception now, and here. It began to surmise as a human being to him that the fifth was the point, the crux, the locus, of course. No one could hold the fifth, but these souls had learned to keep it patternedly brought in again and again. Amazing, they really did have it down to the science of a reliable and stable pattern, Lee mused often. More important was the beauty of the emotions coming through. Nothing fancy to the mental, but dreamily and poetically unforgiving to the rest. Terrifyingly razory in its safety long-forgotten nakedness. The 17 of them were in a diamond-shaped formation in front of his spacecraft, just twinkling the dust of the homeworld in their paws and webs, and the lead one, also positioned geographically in their social formation as clearly such that there could be only easy registry, peered at him. They were like the kind of friendly snakes that made no orange annoyance complicated. She stared at Lee into the arrow of his heart and its predeprocessor. The leader, he began to recognize her. All 17 beings flashed into a compounded one, and he flushed and charred, Lee did, mostly out of embarrassment and an old shame. But there was no need to worry, because she simply would not stop looking at him. She seemed to segmentally notice him noticing that with her eyeball. And the two, Lee and it, locked eyes. The screen around her eyes, laptop-sized, held its everything-to-himness, fuzzy and opaque, thrushy brilliance, edged, Orataniel, curvy, radialing, around, and bang, in, like a nuclear magum light shell apocalypse. Faster than that, you know. But it shot more to the core, being more to the point, and the emotion. E dash dash dash. The numbers were perfect already, but the emotion, dear God, the emotion. Her head was the cosmic space of that tri-solar system itself, and it became more red as it clarified itself, the most beautiful of red you can understand. The essence of this realm, however, Lee was starting to understand, was the function, capacity, and overall fruit of combination and multiplication. She probably had a name, although it was the same she that he had been meeting all of his breathing existence. But she would never content herself with just one thing at a focused time, and that was the exalt of it, the rapture and talus of the figurine monument, clock tower on the coffee table. Also evented was her emotional discourse Pleiadience, or was it Plaisance? Yes, it probably was, he thought again. The petition, or emissarial proposal, was for that of an avenue, through the long striped hallways once again, zebra-ing, cacophonous, melodic and spatial, waltzy to the beat, but more grounded than the ever expected. Where did it go? And finally, slow to anger, but most assuredly getting there. Would there ever be the development of any of the just one of the things of beauty, callowly flitting by? I mean, just for a minute or two at the very least. Her answer was measured, as always. We all have a piece of it, you know. Every one of us events, every one of us moments. That is one thing your world got from the mistakes hanging like tragedy tapestries in the hall of war, and he knew. She said it. The glimmer of the red glow of the space worsened for the better. His focus was meant and made to shift, whilst everything else rattled same word, furthering its trek. His focus shifted by a seeming curl back around to observe its own onset. And pause, beckoning wider the lenses. He felt, no, actually became, like a god watching a silver and christeningly white movie of his own self. The movie was a preview called Beauty, and the scene was his mild, stale, annoying anger. Typical of a common moment, perhaps, on any given day, on 3333 AD, D, Earth. And that very shift of focus made his lips part and his saliva dry. He knew the eternal motion of perilous pendulous time would inevitate a new emotion in short interlude moments. to breeze in briefly. Still, she had helped to do something to secure for him as the process, so none of that really phased for the time being. The red space glittered and popped as his irritant sparked its combinative, chunking away endeavory. He was feeling dry feelings, and they were vast in their spaces. The nebulae currents strew and stroked their tails, teachily reflective, studious and fernnate, yet timeless in their archetypal human story context. Like a Greek-invented jungle gem, older than the categories of time and story conjured by the old storytelling dreamweaver aliens that parented Earth in the sandy golden lab of rife boredom to soothe their children. Oh, just to soothe their children. Absolutely no screw-ups. F dash dash dash. He ached, and the tiredness was more than soul-deep, not to mention uncurable. She was his oldest friend, aware that nobody would ever be able to solve it, but she would lock hands with him, hold hands. As she carefully guess-worked with her talking now, feeling her way in and through our earthly customs, wrapping herself in and around them to curl and wriggle like they were the plushiest pillow blanket feather semi-snuggles, still at the same time austere and sophisticatedly proper. What you would call respectful, she spoke. Things went on like this for some appreciable moments, perfunctorily and approvable, or is it approving? Space threaded and threaded, but never threatening, from one feeling experience of memory / red planet space / emotion / story / love with her to another, and did actually move forward linearly somehow, like the carouselt helix daffodilling in 8-dimensional spirals forward and beyond, until finally it folded and imploded back into itself, curling, fettled, actually fettled. As though it had finally resolved itself and knew where to go. I would like to escort you back to my village by the sea, she said to me. I would like to go there very much, he, me, said back to woman. But first, we both said, of a course. She showed me just a flash of the future before we went into town, where she would then, in town, show me the little bit of a mild problem. G dash dash dash. We finally walked nearer to each other, still just her and me. She is a form that keeps shifting, yet has a red galaxy uniqueness to it. I am just your ordinary man. She gently, and in a slow motion that changes the time itself around it. She grazes the pad of her finger web to encourage my eyelids stealing shut for a spell. Without a dramatic pause, I am transported because it matters, and I open up back my peering to look around and see somewhere I've never known. No, never. Everything had been settled, you see. I know you are older than any of these things. She is talking to me. The love that emanates from those hungry eyes, different ones tend to have in different ways, is once met with another's, and the emanations hug and rest, solid in the bond of knowing and growing older, wholly. She lifts my eyes and counts the breeze. She says, "You don't have to be confused, private, or worthless any longer. There is nothing left for us to do. The lines did begin to blur before, but in this temporary preview of a place, they had all but phased out of existence. Ripe and purity, ivy Sundance, Miracle Ocean's opera show. We watch the world twirl in its fancy. Our children are growing older. We know it all now. And we know it. Sequentia with finality. Revelated ballroom gold dresser emotion oscillation paradigm dance. Unmics us, and we chord the leaflet's sensories. Just a broken dream flash to come back to it was clear about that in the overture. Once again, she says to the hopeful unforgiven, granting penniless, free luck, plucked and stuck on the track that leads back to it. To the sandy purple grove we go, on our way back into town. H... The roadside, if it can be called that, presented its own obstacles. This improved gradually as the woman taught him how to walk around on her beautiful red planet. Walking was something like the process of striding forward in slow, long semi-jumps, concentrating heavily on the exact point where the tip of one's foot touched into the strange, alive soils, digging the foot in, and finally pushing forward and out to semi-jump ahead, much like the way a professional sprinter or cheetah would behave at 60 kilo plus per hour. They slowly made their way to the capital city in this fashion, as was the ceremonial form of entrance for most visitors, at least the first time. On the side of the road were unfathomable entities. Lee could not help but focus on them a bit, but did his best to focus on the journey at hand instead. The walking slowed, and the two of them noticed off into the close distance the spires of the city. Few and many have snaked the curvy little twists out and far from the massive town. Still many and few have gone to come near, finish shell, all of the same those arrive, pretty unatectic, treffly. The average celestially crystalline, phosphor-rousted house were as churches, both in function and as they were prostratedly bowed fiat flat in a ballet offering of visual for the eyes of us and of all of our fellow intakers. Yet the shops were as planetariums, perfumery, bold, shut out the canon answers out into concierges. The theaters are just that, whilst the translucency of ice rinks were railways, And yes, in keeping with the old Galactic Opera ballroom's platform, ultimately, at breadth, a course that led itself in to the honey processing center plant, brightly starred and preferential, had became. In the midst of it, Lee felt the same old measuring, yet closer than ever this time somehow, that is, of the chests of weight crumbling tetrisly off to the sides, and the let us not forget mutual crying / expansion of breath. They came to the whole group of the one that is not, along with Lee. His tiredness and road weariness was instantly transformed into a swirling, layering itself honey idol of autumnal, adolescented, memoried, unot, sen, dal. J... What is the point of all of this? I finally broke in, as the Lee that I am. We are your singular ambassador. She drifted nearer to him, and it was impossible to tell the difference between the outside space entering in and the nearby environment fading out. The edge of the skin of her nose gracefully grazed across. The boundary of his cheek, it was somewhere between the lands of gray, pale brown, and a light black, if there is such a thing. Regardless, everything we cling to fizzled apart, and in a slowly dancing arena of peace, the stars negated, the lips parted, the eyes slowly wiped up and forth, back and down. The tears kissed puddles of commonality through our precisioning love, our smiley knowing. He caught a glimpse of our/the world to come, and like that, it became evident the tour had completed itself. K... He clasped his gritty golden souvenir flags tight, you know, the ones with the star on them, and the dirt crunched under his feet in the final steps, back into this craft, thankful and absorbed in the futures of futures to come. Chapter 2. Anna Valen Scree. A... Staticky whispers satirically filled the Driadisic, sardonical Haert chambers of twitty orgasm, assassins, all mere as the cat of his caboose's miracle thought train, span in, well, never mind. He was just sitting in a position beyond the need to reassure people of obvious rightnesses, such as, for the last time, Racism is fucking idiotic. And he was inside of his black-ass craft. You frequently not asked quacks, crooks, crucible, crutching, flavored, bubble, chewing, dumb, underscore, Did I mention I was homeless forever? And back to Eland. He really did have fond memories from before. In the previous chapter of his life, no space travel did not chap his goddamn fucking lips. But with that luck, has also more underline ed illy surfaced that he had been given etherically termining or speaking the opening to the security of an eternal journey now finally set as underway, sweeping itself, broomy magna et etismen, all in motion as one now, and step 2 was now ready for the granted commencement. Sensitivity of focus and attention. The serene dream and need when they freed all the saucers of where wolves near were once trodly along forcep of pink alien sour rock spid dust. So he, almost a quarter or fifth desperate, someone could be glad to be heard hearing, in the boring amoral observation of Gugatan spatiality. The old watchers blink too. 2. Reminding with rotten, I, Minton, rhyme Latin, congratulations, you boys, for calling me to degrade myself enough to waste myself in an ununderstanding insult of your floundery beer time art AC. See, I told you not to grapple, let alone rape, seriously. Animals not won't, but cannot grasp certain things intellectually. Hence, genocide still unfortunately, still weepingly, still exists. Genocide. He also spoke to himself for some reason not in the least sufficing bitch. Then he rotated his whore's posture back over and sat in front of the console, the one with the universe jumping controls embedded to them, you know? B -- soap. He was off. He was off again, in fact, to comet around and in granted the trispersings of back-alley nebulae and star-pocketed pavilion squarings, the hidden and the overwhelmingly not. The cosm of the long-forgotten, the ring-blanket, meteor-tropic, epsilonic fieldry. And Lord, was he more than an excuse for Reddy, too more than a proof. he navigatedly set his star sailship's sails for blink blue or bank to the blank rust. As we all hide in the thing that is always more than less, other than when Gray's is etc. spelled C dash dash dash. Oh, that's good. Anyways, he mashed the portal button down. Of course, quasars, nebulae, quasars is, and finally, Braphililica Laptacatronics flew by. It portionally depended on a hazy state of mind. D dash dash dash. Brown, everything brown. He had remembered seeing. The groundedness of clarity maturate. Her somber bends had retrenched, his oath grudge rechained. It was an atmosphere or a bootsy climb, where one could magentalize, eviate the retrace of a neon yellow spur tube neon stick in the mud snow. The mud snow shovels, as they called, were. He hurried o'er to his/the panel. Species 314 was labeled by his orb pod, Mechatrome's light burner palette, circuit tracker board Moet Highbot. They were stuck in the early 1800s/late 1900 through 1909s, meaning an average of 1904 and 1908. Forget the part about the 1800s. That's not as good of an idea anymore. He said dirds. The leader of their tribe, nearly all the leaders were unfortunately male, was Stampy, and his name was Hazina Dragf. It never got old. E dash dash dash. He brutalated the safe Luciferian wheel socklesses ice ump. It had tree-figured blandly to a scoundreling roundk. You right didn't write new an ying. That's right, it's not a fucking restaurant. More like restaurant, anyways. Hazina was blinking and radiantly phosphoresphering across and through the goddamn golden squared light stream of framery. Pickpockety string pop, soda juice, furbled, gurgled, burl bled, froth forth, fobbing and torched. Hazina introduced himself as Hazina, and restated the fact that nearly all of the fucking leaders were men. Yet, they were meek and passive, demure, quaint, and dainty. When they didn't understand something, they gave everything a pregnant pause, bitch. The word usage of bitch not intended in any format or time or anything else. Whether or not someone liked it at first, someone just sounds male to you, doesn't it? Racism had/has schism and spasm all over the goddamn elephantine family room couch fabric triangle patterns is ass and died. Thank fuck. Stupid fucking racism. He, Hazina, had also requested a Zima. You know, a Zima. Remember those? Mebber? And he had functioned to ask as of Lee if he would like to trioli puff hup over to their first of their chain of planets. To this, which Lee did yes, said dead, and galley ho, through the tranny red Wolfendale, scooter the navigation sparky port true, when the alignment verticede, then becoming verily easier and really just easier as it went down hover slow spiral F dash 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 3 glutenated and brutalated and piloted his ponderings. Hidden behind the unseen future was the golden lady of ourselves, outgrown of any fiery sheathings, snakeskins, or similar outnesses and cowardly descriptions easily faceable by many, disgustably judged by all by myself. I was all by myself. Cornucopia, tower-leaned and writhed into full flexing in terms of architecture, that is, erections, classic novels ejaculated. Finally, like a copyrighted set of E.T., where Bill Gates has a $30 million useless piece of shit manuscript he has collected into his own library in his grossly overpriced house, next to the other people on this planet, no, the other families, with violently hungry babies, very violent babies, in their stupid nature. Wow, you're an anthropomorphism, philanthropist, like I'm supposed to believe. But yeah, Drewface, champagne cried like it was trying to say, and Lee's left and center orb ship finally landed on planet Atresia 8. Upon standard form greetings, Hazina took the words right out of Lee's mouth, as was the custom for these aliens to do at that particular interval of circumstance. Lee sees Tori. Lee sees story, that is. Well, if that isn't a massive wire jumble of harried infrastructure warbleteen runaway hairiness to comb through, just to set front and slowly drift down and land a damn spaceship. Bitch. No actual bitch regards. Yeah, whatever a bitch regard is. Sounds bitch retard. Id. Meh. And someone named Then I lost track of who was daring to drag up out of the parentheta to country and into the light of Venusian, Venetian, Venusia, Menuet, Menute, Antennae. But would you like to follow us to the brightly lit clearing of interconnected pasture /meadow /yarns /clearingry where we have caves, and where we are already having revelry outside, and I/we can introduce you to more of our kind, and of our ways, etc. Lee? Yash. That would be just lovely. But please just let me say thanks first. No. Thank you. I locked my space car as it were. Followingly, as a group, they casually lumbered ado. G dash dash dash. Hezina led the way. Pissed/first off was. Her name was Sina. And like all of the names that appeared filleted out before her, and one, meaning me, accords, hopes, like all of the names that processionate after in this book, Sena was just a priceless, inexpensive, insubable, and Ali Shepard shoe. Cover not to be judgment guider of the Taj blows. Yes, content. Inside is just shrewd biblical science. Bonk meh G H dash dash dash. Izina Ibiza, seriously, of course. You don't have goddamn waiting fees. Sometimes I really don't like animalan beings, Hughes. She was curved or half unfurled on a conglomeration metric of the cave roof entrance curlway emblem Chezraunic tunic. She shuddered and flapped the frog parade of progressioning onganings hop. Chilly away da. It was reliefy. At some point before the line in of this thicky grey moss bell morning, I'd pebbled my pride, belled, of an Iskill silent tea for mating's sake, and we were naked yet powdery in our associated Excel lens. It was contesting only breath to inflex, the concentrism accused her. Stupid ass-hot keycode fuckco. I triked it back up to the razor-thin, laser-fine line. We orgasm-fucked art farther darl, like the gall of a royal red-planted Caribbean, tree frog, toad, throat fog, plus. Yes, the farther back room is the hearthery to reach, a true courtyard of proof and indecisions, said Peach One, quieter and still. Yes, the better side of bronze wills. Free smiles? Ack. I looked at her movable parts, and she looked away to my sequencing gestalt remise, and reminisced the dusk of the disk to our sons and ashamed. It quilled a shuntily upgrinded, always her friendly truce back to my understanding of my own damn surprise. Cumulative monstery starburst, unlike at least one exactly specific chewy American candy well melt. It didn't matter because she understands, she understood, she understa. Sweet little beautiful, my love's hands. Still, the fundamentals don't seem to end, and as she tightened on around me, I could see my pan L. Wooden scandals, space ka, all grain of her. With every sandal's new deep step dreamed in, with every new scene's drainery too, with me, I'm with you. I say to my love you, so much more every time, and as well with, but never quite equal to, nor fully separate from or of, love, goes the oscillazione sextancity. You are my I dash dash dash. The space pan went fry. Forbally, warbally, boye, J dash dash dash, and it went on through to the next quadrant. Chapter 3. Bots. A dash dash dash. K Flugft. When in doubt, add ein severer mind. Bolts and trocks in cross, and others barbled guardily Gamorca flechette through sumption, and the spaceship's wares and spheres better than related words. hey.meh.com.//forward. Finally, after having had that third old-time charmer's chair worn out through the space quilt, patchbuckle square, where and whirring, chiming, chiseling, charring and clampering shut the safety clasp of body memory, unthrough his being, he, and more really, had began true clammed up giving calms to what ails and to who exactly? Yes. It ached, and he ached. He felt tremendously guilty, afraid, accusatorily, blameful and bored. Those flashes still, that reared their heads of really goodness. It seemed like 10 to 49 men, usually once or thrice a day. Sometimes even a few hours, not that it helped the crumbled, confused erosion permittant in the first plus decade of his third life, with what would be the second wife. Not that the first ever even counted as more than an upbraiding interceptions of snoo oil, socks and brandage, hanfk. Skeletons drew Birkentrance, bitter nature, description, dansk, click, inference, apsly, your xenophile. I practiced my own ignoc tiv. Okay, just read it all, read so much that I don't care. And in what seemed like time, his head never clouded or cleared. He kept thinking about the future of others' thoughts about him back then, and the structure of paragraphery. It was not perfect. Not that was a big deal. Omnidirectional conducting navigatory stuns of world crust, universed like a channel changer chipset to alter dimensions of an object in merely a bigger family room next to the mud room, the coat rack. The indent on this page of the audiobook of York, the living room, knows her period is the lower half of a semicolon. Slowly raising both of his upper heliodemispheric eyelid decal caps, Lee began to realize and tater to it the new nature of this situation. Oh yeah, he didn't bother to think further / excessively further. B He hover-rolled overt to find the panel in his pod. One of the many, it was still the panel to Zupan L. You can Zupan. Follow your growthesses, noses, nose, it was. Blue and green and purple lights and things, tonight at least. Always it is morning. Some companies and many people called a panel like this particulate make a flux board to occasion the temperament or a boiled over molding of the morade shun, fluxing from one attitude and scamperding emanation structure to another. Technological framework more a matter of art than utility. It was so beyond any need to be advanced, which it beyond was. Stalting crutch, a jeer silted in fire brickly. Slint, not slant, it went. Lee winced, kemped, and slid back. Stasi, scuzzy, Swayze, bibbity bonnety, bebback. The air thick end to the brink of an Nutellan paste. It smelled bubbly. If the concept of bubbliness having a smell can lend itself to being possibleness, that is hef. A wicked awesomeness asked to bring itself in at the cost of much effort in return. Lee, it seemed, was the customer, and he already knew the price grade was far too steep to green anybody's tab capsules. Still not suntered, though, swimming in overdone mush, clear in his endless love and heart. He flashed the oldest signal band open. C... Aeons before, we were bored like your children, it should show. We would like to go to you and your orb ship, and we can explore you. Rather than some formulation of the reverse, you know we are tired of that, yes. Will you give us permission to come as the women of yours? They all shut off together and gently waited politely, all with a feeling of hemi-sacred quasi-indifference. Yes, of course. Lee didn't need much time. He has been eternally lonely, after all. and like a syrupy medicine, a humanoid presence photoned through the boom. D dash dash dash. One woman named Washek, pronounced Washek, said, "My name is Washek." Lee then said, "Okay." The lady, if she can even be called that, followed what was said by having then to have said back, "Yes, I know it is okay. That is exactly the problem." Ha, ha, ha. A pause. And then, did I get or do that ha 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 laughter correct? There was something supposed lesbionic in the a lens tones, almost as though she were a lesbianiac, which is a murdery highfalutin gun took, sparrow chalked, I guess it's never enough. Hatred, the standard idiot's crutch, reason brand, ink. Yes, of course, here. Let me give you the goddamn, excuse me, the grand old tour of my Orby-ass spaceship. Right this way. He was thinking, but obviously not saying, because he was thinking, fuckerhead. He was almost not sure that he was almost beginning to not like her just one bit. He fucking led the way. Excuse me, fusing. He fusing led the fucking way. Fuck trunkards. E dash dash dash. Waoma. It was uptight. And this is the corridor, Lee said. And this is the my broken rule meh. The inside of his ship was really almost always just different tones of black, you know? Rods and small high-tech banister rods meched, inched, and crinkled a bit with the curves of the hull rotaries. Nothing justified the forays out of visible iction, and spiraled back to what was claymane tainted. They wound up in the bedroom, of course. The socializing/beverage having table was ovally egg-shaped. They sat facing each other, drinking post-soda. The light was flat and dim, with a powerfully chargerent undertone. Her wheel spoke. "Well, no, I suppose we haven't." Waiting for just this moment? He was surprised to find no knowledge of the precise pinpoint of the telepathy introject ed/ing the scene. No. Conversation over. Except it wasn't. Not by a long view. She stubbled forth again, and with a stapled perfection aura ordained, "Your people cycle like a tormented golden ordeal, and your confusion is nothing new to you, quite clearly." Cryptic, maybe not, he continued. "Please excuse my polite please saying. Custom Bisarais. I've just watched a grip of 90s Eastwood, flick slit, not drunk or bad rap. Good rap's better than bad rap, you fools. Not you, them." Yet our art is the same. Yeah, hours and hours, that is. The woman breathed ESP. When it comes to sex acts, Yes, it does. Act. He couldn't help saying. Fire breathed in billows and clouds. In his mind's screener room burner tome. Weeping manifold, I escaped. I should say my family otherwise. Curls of eccentricide. Smelting fabric. Gaoan. Question it. And they made love unfunny. F. After the late 2750s, sleeping had been chased, funneled, harpooned, and reduced to meager more than a strong long nap. Like a fob versus a dongle, and the bed space had slowly been upgraded to more of a hybrid thing in life. Not that anyone, least of all this narratores, is expected to remember the at, and it is on this that the two we focus on now sit and lie. The woman, well, she seemed to go along on an almost experimentatoria rooted extra planetarit socketally position stance Mississippi from Connecticut. So they had finished the fucking of the fuck. They give a fuck. Curled around his quarters, no pun intended. It was a very mellow, borderline jazzy, of course, sigh, atmosphere. And yes, they were then chatting only one more time. Her speaking first. Evasion is an evasive set of bundles and memory, in no exception when we make love as beings are prone. They were the most advanced, and as of yet they could do a little more than glimpse the dance. Reunion, derision, and a tired compulsion, merging flesh and rapture. The countless accent marks of her female body and the magic curly queuing out from her front bang hair curls, as though or if there ever are back bang hair curls. Change the indent for the God's sake of the end of the sentisk. It rhymes, it must be a goddamn poem. Pi cubed. And the reduction of her to the tooth to the moany beggar cheerleader type. As it ends some levels deeper than that it, other than the rare instance. The fucking was the foreplay here. As dearly as it did go through to further to, it seemed relaxedly that the sex must be at the center of this species' reality, society, and collaboration. Yet that couldn't be so. Too obvious and on context, Lee thought. As they say. They used mating as a grand associateur vu, not to mention a spiral drill bit juggler. Unearthing and replating. It bounced above distant ground. Emotions and words were mere drapes for the scapes, if you will permit the childy rhyme. Dodge and dart. Ford the river with pinto beans in your damn watch pocket. 9 lines. Little twisty fence tines. My main man rusty. And how different it had been all then that the twatty sex had before, in his not insubstantial life, changed the level. Irrelevantize your evolve-tattering work, 99Z. formerly as to yet, when some unresolved awful feeling would never die and go so far, far from now, along with its supernal shackles, such as the fear of torture. Now those feelings had drawn to the surface like a wet series of indifferent colored autumnal brackery, finally initially filed over to instantly clack to, like the relay elbow piston, into more exfoliatory sexual expression of a new paragraph of a different matter of pain giving way to numbness. Still, sunlight was hidden, in a different way and in a different grove/world, you stupid bastards. G... Back alone, Lee wasted much time pondering and processing, and then pushed the fucking red button for the fourth time. Once again, he was off. Chapter 4. Planet, fuck you. A... He immediately felt afflicted upon arrival. There were always those slight differences in the bits of underbrush of the shoots and tendrils of the ruffier goal, from the purple plant tentacle appendage lights, cursuring his orbs, robbery. Still, those slight differences were boring and mild. The differences between orange, dirt, and rust, you know. But not now. Now, the tunnelarize Kaleidoshio was twirl-gripping and splasticizing expansions about in a ray-like reverse poultice and pestle-like fashion, drawing all the most prominent of his pains back to him. He'd been neatly organizing, filing, dispensing, discarding as much as of the bolstered bump of his azulary, just short of all-out torture, suffering, and agony for the past 30 or so years, leaving it behind, supposedly, like some Hansel and Gretel's horse, every 90-plus yards and some shit. The translucent chain better ignored than the many of those bust scopically, stuccoically, semi-stoically. It was all leavings for not the tree. Scree. His orbship had stamped Standerlandered in a cluster system of Stolaray, Cyclone Winding, Pane Grove, Scrub Oven, Broke Tree, Clawdust, Snotnoxy, Dead Fucks. Regardless, there were 7 planets in it, too. All green planets, though mostly because of vapors, not plants. He was all swelled up, aka swollen, with his old clingy pain, that which was stupid, but just smart enough to know how to be a bother, by using an unconscious rebellion against some sensible childhood rule-giver, against anything that is perceived to be powerless, now around and near it. Not the movie called It. BTW. Ha fucking ha, right? and he was thus down and out. You get it? So, and so, it was in such that she beeped him. A bright flashing green light on his Eastern suspense console it was. He reached over with the goddamn fucking warhammer and smashed the sign on the console labeled suspense console, because everyone already knew it, okay? Hello, he said. Yeah, hi, she said. What do you want? Jesus fucking Christ. You've got us on one of those antiquated, gnarly burled translates everything, odds, lots, piece of shit, deucer seal type of watt knitted sprugy hop deals, don't shadow. Yes, and it's working beautifully. Asshole. Was my goddamn devil repons. Let's just talk a bit now, whilst you pull up, okay? Polly Pocket Compact. Pony Life. Sure, I'm on my way now, but we've got 7 to 8 minutes meantime, since he could already sense and heal, well, the heel or tag bone, if you will, of one of the mega-apolakisses of the many societies of problems I near always have, is that stupid-ass old rich white men are fucking idiotic, although I will technically be one myself quite soon, and painfully so. Breeding complete self-involvement like an 8-year-old dude. Adults with little to no capacity for even moderate canyons of total kindness, and they are supported by the awful majority of reality at goddamn large. He finished up with, everything is enough to make anyone suicidal, and if you don't know that, you are a dangerous idiot. And again, this is just a surface scratch, which is not even anywhere near the fucking itch as well. BTFW. She appeared on his lap in his ship as a half-bridled bird-like lady and lighted on his left corduroyed leg. She had no talons, and thankfully, no skin was popped in 3 triangulated points, or some such sinny nonsensate, Matrix 4/5, etc., and said, I don't care about you, never have. It all flows out to the whirlpool world of tankery, Trump, boneray, OKKTTK. And she went on, I will take him for you, and the pain may never melt in my abdomen. And she continued like a sick cake. I will continue until nothing gets through. And as one of her brands of conclusion, how many times have you seen me seeing you, the boy? Don't worry about his reduction springing up tavidly. I mean rabidly, clockwork-ick. It's not shit-talking or talking shit. It's shit-shitting or shitting shit. That's all. Okay, no need to have a goddamn aneurysm yet over the shit. You know, soap repels snot. Lee's response. Yeah, I just wonder. Why bother hassling through this overpopulated life anyhow? As he noticed the replete, clear white mucus fluid lancing, wait for it, lanced, and dripped down thing, sketch its way through a jungle of textured purchase pocketry and the byways shaded worse than self-conscious, time-wasted complaint/inflate pain. Pain of the biggest, yet from the least of places. Like a bright, zeely, lychee, cunting, polypocket compact. It was the yeast of times. Yes, don't worry, she agreed. It will just reset and reassert itself. So what else? Okay, but first, would you like some coffee while we further talk? Continuing what with our lack of retinues and such? Okay, but let me refine it. She interfaced with the goddamn spaceship machination, and it spat the frothy, half-frozen gob sense for a worth. She said as she so enjoyingly sipped escapades, bewice and various truss, fraffa happy tongue. Yeah, about that, Lee said, as the tracks shifted finality. The light of your arms, muddy, he glared feverishly, flankingly dull and flush in her, just starting to penetrate the bookcase, where he would come to want to give some body a big tip. 14%, or was 7 of 8? Well, there certainly were no question marks. Were there? No, not now. Relaxed. The Constantin annuity urge, bred into Frommer babies, is under control, at least now. It doesn't have to be a particular next step always. You know, sometimes, it's nice when there is a fount and a font, cola box maturity, that one doesn't have to buy every way into flowering fired geodez. Truckle a few minutes, because everyone just microbrews in a microclimate, lets it breathe. Not breath, but yes, breadth. You're fucking welcome. Thank you, she said as he strove to realize her. Purple Pendahun's unforgrowed head as it wrinkled slowly from time. It's okay. It's all okay, he said. Whatever said is, anyways. He sighed and he sighed. He said. Cashew pink burdens of scary overflow lava monkeys withdrew. They were ready for the long haul and all these things that they get, but that you don't, and that they are right and you aren't, and you're projecting, and it's obviously all fucking princely wrong for any idiot scarecrow with a goddamn brain. Because people are the ones that never want to leave you alone. People are the ones that want to make it illegal for you to even talk about leaving them for good. But people will eventually leave you, she said, shallow, leggy, just the way I liked it that day. Bless her, please. Goddess bless her forever, if it is within the will of a placed power, she, my lord. And after we redressed, balking at a remarkable marvel of speeding up iddiness that hadn't been that extended of a trend, so never fucking mind anyways. B... I feel like the eyeball of the human race, along with the small number group of others. I would like to just cut off the body. It doesn't want that, of course, with a ton of toe notes, bitches airy on top, etc. He talked. Wow, she justified actually in doing so, mocked. And the plot fucking ripened, euphalanging, chads you. Oh. She had used me, and it was time for me to go. Still, she also went way out of her way to help aplenty. Trouble is, nothing really helps. The root of this and the root of me is the problem. The very root core quintessence dust cube chamber fuck pre-setup of the all and the me is the fucking problem. Okay? But thanks, though. Chapter 5. Aioisha wives and wombs and uvas and vujlaxai and Olritheria Theranemoshwaz -- he relaxed. Amid the very centre of multicapacitous flux, of a being twister, tristed of a crumb tornado, thoroughfare, trinket-rolling supra-machine, honey tub, truly made of the amberest, bereft, incocted, incumulated, warrantry, groping pirch, tunic, hundled, affretch-tierried, turnell, stockwise, a mute, said Tebble, bell, chown, not franc. No, not never, not he just simply would not ever let that in such an easy alternative. To let them ruin the parts of his eroded, yet crystally video shell pragmatisk quasuorio iodio sexite self, that were after all merely the parts they in turn curvalii rounded, valued, imaginationed forward, pointed to a ray beam, lazy scoparan, knife. Anyhow, just in the past. So yes, he was finally trasked with the taxid forther, moth a red, moat, mottled, and rattling, relax yourself more to himself. He regained the speech of faculty en vemore. Au revoir. Before some of those centuries made it sometimes spotty, blotchy, in the pain of forgetting the tactile aroma of bumpiness gracing down the dreyfused black ink swell of its coke pot. Quill tinct. Tinct. The part that attacks one anthraxive breed of pride is fleeting. From omerance of the condominiums of I'm bare-ass meant nothing. Couched, coined, sophicularly. Coiled tods fulfill the mate, girl. What I gotta speak Greek to get the creature to do the one thing that is more deserving of terrified prayer. Pleading approach Sagonk, all the signs are gonot. B .. Look, you officious bitch, He relaxed, a retarded puberty tadpole, fox muffet, scar. Engine equals sex, tad, bit, it, ch, more. Next up, The bastards wet his nose and clobbered his tonwan. Meow. He relaxed a thirst silent time. You're like a boy, bitch. If they even let you say that without a self-imposed guilt trip, that isn't funny in the year 2030, 43. You're Lee, not cool, Kaith, Mr. Thornton, Knight, de Lothlorian's child, Beth. She still just waited and served him, and he never could believe or understand it fully. Perhaps 44 to 62% Lee got, maybe, if he was lucky. Still, most everybody else other than the Haers was swerve obnoxious, so that sucked. He sensed her more and more sooner each time. The Jorn Alley was becoming more and more surreal as from a result of that or this. Such facts. None of the nevertheless was which in the boogie. Ying shuffle to throw aft perderboard tobblewaki scrip redress forg quicker toggly cry. He picked up the goddamn fucking mower thing, and she said, "You can't fucking fish fry Mohammed. Stupid noodle, Noka Tonki. Fork, tuck, Turk, truck, school, buckfuck, talk to me. Talk to me. Bitch-ass Lady Wanid named Susie. Specifically, Lady Susan. You know, she continued like the table surface. Utensil, machinery, crocker. Where Okay? Your fear creates the harshness of rules. Everything is worse than getting old." He plugged his snowgrass facsimile celery popularity charted guest walk, Tonsillinger, and Netitry Tries. "Seriously, my name is Roberta in your tongues. What do you want? I've let it all go. I'm also going to go ahead and say the word trunk. Right there. Just for its sake, you know. Okay? Go ahead. You vapid, vacant, fatuous, and just fucking fat. Vast and slimy fuckbog." She added, "I have no pity for you, but I probably did. In the pastime of timery. C ... That's cool. We are with this," Lahi said and thought, TK. "Do I have to touch him?" she muttered both quietly and fiercely in someone's soundboarding behind her. "Because I'm not fucking touching him. I mean, for Christ's sakis, thousands of millennials back, he was fucking oil, ick. She can't vomit, specie ally, but she can fucking would have. And I ain't sure you're a psycho-fuck stug list, neither." At this point, she was clearly taking advantage of the Brandarii Antarcticalanacawe breach heli Ingri Wazizas up to the pit. Far starred Uscope, Translavonic, Toriantella. device. I don't care about Roatan. He decided to rip off her remix to purely per her savagical sardine pinyam, which literally meant BTW. Only as bad as the mega minimalist Lavelx Lee is a kind and gentle soul, okay? Even though he can talk a little cray daddy, okay? Chair forth he really never gets more bad than the mildest of naughtiness. On a scale of 1 to 100, Bill Cosby being 66, Lee would never sink below a 1.00000000000000002. You know, just to stay as fucking far away as possible from that awful piggish behavior. You know. D dash dash dash. Okay, fucker. Well, statistically, the lights technologically evolved dimly. Mori-san, I knew well we are back to, well, E dash dash dash. Or was it the shroud of some of your basic lemony power grab bake sale piece logic shrunt March waltz April o spiel question art F dash dash dash. You know it's true love when it's Uyen and Lee. You know it's true love when you manage to at least temporarily escape the shackles of immediacy, or be it mediocrity. When it finally fades, the broken curtain stains into the alien alphabet a W. Her green hair, from the fragrancy of magi, shiny moss, emerald heart, clamp as the best of. Her little body gripping onto what some would describe with just a word like merely snuggling. But the cuddled snuggle-eye zone is its own vast nation with procluteralide language, MK, an entire habit of world. She clasps and breathes, and the machine desperates belief, sucking hard and fierce cones of oxygen into a body that needs it, or some other form of breathing air. Depending on the world sphere you turn up, from, had the O's and the R's rearranged and screwed up there, turnip. See, she, and the weekend trusting tristy, gentle, subtle, edge-on. Spitopograph, that it bleeds into means to. Really like something better than an angel is holding or clinging a little unto me. She is so much more than precious, than to me. Those time-relaxed tomes of timelessness, intoned and primeval, clarestory, estuary, resolved, nakedly sound. About the dear friend of the spirits of the muses, aka the author, L.T. Zupan. Lee has managed to make or find a beautiful home of the city Da Nang in Vietnam, and due to financial constrictions, His family only visit America rarely, so far. He has blazingly enjoyed writing for 28 years and has gotten over his failed attempts to unsuccessfully make a career out of music, yet he has managed to make a hobby out of black and color ballpoint pen ink sketching and not care A-OK, aka karaoke. Best steak sauce in the South North. Lee is inextricably and unexplainably madly in love with his beautiful Uyan. Really, the only thing he truly hopes for, lives for, loves for, these days, is a future together with her, and maybe even the chance to grow a little further, a little family, with Uyan. The heart is where home is.